I heard a lot from you guys over the weekend. There's a lot of stuff that I got right. There's a lot of stuff that I got wrong. Either way, that's what halftime's for. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Dizzy, back at it again with another episode of Halftime with Dizzy. I appreciate you tapping in with me. This video is gonna be a lot like a video I released a couple weeks ago. It's gonna be short and sweet. I got a lot of things that I gotta get to with finals week coming up, and I got some genius teachers that require 20-page papers and all that stuff, so I gotta get to that. But I wanted to make sure I still get a video out. So yeah, this will be a short and sweet video. Like I said, it was a lot that I said going into this past weekend that you guys had a lot to say about, and so this episode is going to be a lot of just talking about that fan interaction, that viewer interaction. I told you guys a couple weeks ago this segment is going to be called Holla at Me. You guys did just that, and we're going to dive into a lot of what you guys told me. Before we do that, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and yeah, let's get right into this. Okay, so last week I told y'all who I thought the top 5 teams in the NFL were. I made a graphic, I posted it on my Instagram story, and I had you guys vote. I had you guys say what y'all thought about the list, and if we look at the results here, 53% of you said it was close enough, and 24% of you said that I was tripping. Another 24% said that it was spot on. And if you took those lists of teams and you haven't watched any football in the beginning of the season, but you did watch this past weekend, you were right in saying that I was tripping. But in that video last week, I think I said some things that kind of saved my ass in case this were to happen. And that was that there were variables as to why those teams were top 5 teams in my opinion. And if those variables remain the same, then they're top 5 teams. If they are absent, then they are no longer top 5 teams. They're not the same team. And it starts with my 5th ranked team last week, which was the Buffalo Bills. They go down to New England. They take the L 25-29. I told you last week that the reason I had the Bills as a top 5 team was because if Josh Allen can play consistent football, taking care of the football, not turning the ball over, not on different pages with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis having, Stephon Diggs throwing tantrums on the sideline, stuff like that. If that Josh Allen can show up every week, then the Bills are a top 5 team in football. What happened this past weekend? Josh Allen, he throws an interception. He fumbles the ball. It's recovered by New England. The score was 25-29, the final score. If you take one of those turnovers and turn it into a touchdown, they win this game 32-29. If you take both turnovers and turn them into a field goal each, 3 points, they win this game 31-29. So again, Josh Allen not valuing the football leads to the Buffalo Bills losing. And when he does take care of the football, they win games. So that's the big variable. And sticking with Josh Allen, the questions are starting to rise about him, and rightfully so. I'm not going to be so quick to say he's trash and he's this and he's that. But we are going to start looking at him differently because he's been compared for years to Mahomes. He's been talked about as in that tier 1 with Mahomes and Joe Burrow. He might not be there anymore. That's just facts at the moment, especially with that dude in Baltimore playing the way he is. You know who I'm talking about, Lamar Jackson. And with that, we will transition into the next game that I want to talk about. I had the Detroit Lions as the 4th best team in the NFL. I picked them to go down to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. And man, the Ravens, I mean, they treated the Lions like it was an Adrian Broner post-fight interview.
I beat your ass.
We can do it again.
I beat your ass like you stole something. I beat your ass like you got suspended from school. I beat your ass like you stole my ball, ass nigga.
We can go get some more if you want.
Huh?
You heard me.
You bruised up?
I'm ready to fight right now, fool.
Come on, man. Your face cut up. You need peroxide. You need peroxide and alcohol.
You need to settle down.
You need peroxide and alcohol.
The Ravens beat up the Lions. They beat them up bad. It was 38-6. That was the final score. And with the Lions, what I told you was what made them a top 5 team was the fact that they were going to have consistent run game and their defense was going to play really well. That's what they've done every week leading up until the game this past weekend. And that wasn't the case this past weekend. They didn't have a run game. They usually rush for about 120 yards per game. They only rush for 84 yards. Now, I get it. When you're down this bad in a game, then you can't run the ball as often. You're going to chew up the clock. You got to throw. You got to take shots. I get that. They also didn't have David Montgomery, which is huge for them. But I figured, okay, this is one of the best offensive lines in football right now. So it doesn't. I mean, you could put me on a bum ankle out there right now, and I'll get 5 yards of pop behind this offensive line. But you got to tip your cap off to the Ravens. They did a hell of a job stopping what the Detroit Lions wanted to do. And when you flip over to the other side of the ball, I told you that the Lions have a consistent defense that was playing really well. And the first few games, they were in the top half of the NFL in terms of yards that they allowed per game. Against the Ravens, they let up 503. That is not a winning formula. You're going to lose every time if you're going to get out there and you're going to let up big yards like that. So I think this game kind of brought the hype down on the Lions. I mean, I think we still know and think that they're a good football team, but the Ravens showed them its levels to this, and the Lions may not be there yet. Moving on to the team that I had as the second best team in the NFL. I won't talk about who I had third best. That was the Eagles. They won their game. I'll get into that in a little bit. But the second best team, in my opinion, was the 49ers. And they took the L as well. They lost to the Vikings 22-17. And what I told you in terms of the 49ers was the reason why I had them at 2 and not 1 is because I wanted to see what Brock Purdy was about without his team, his offense at full strength. And he folded. He, once again, like I told you last week, he shrunk in the moments that he needed to be good in. And they had no Deebo Samuel. Brock Purdy throws 2 interceptions. I told you that the pieces around them, we'll see what happens when they don't have their best games. Christian McCaffrey, he only had 15 carries for 45 yards. He did score a touchdown, but he also fumbled the ball, which was recovered by Minnesota. Without Deebo, George Kittle wound up being the leading receiver with only 78 yards. So a tough night offensively. And again, I'm not going to go as far to say, well, Brock Purdy, he's terrible, he's trash, he's whatever. But I will say, I jumped the gun and I fell for the hype, saying a few weeks ago we need to talk about him in the same breath as some of the more elite quarterbacks. He's not showing that he's elite over the past 2 weeks. So I think we do need to scale it back on that, or at least I need to scale it back on that. And we need to see what happens over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see if he can reinsert himself in those conversations, or if, he's just an average guy. He's just another Jimmy Garoppolo and guys of that nature. So, lastly, I had the Miami Dolphins as the number 1 team in the NFL, and they took a brutal loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. I picked the Dolphins to win this game, and I mean, I was watching this game and I was like, please, Dolphins, save me, because I picked the Lions to win. They got blown out. I picked the Rams to win. They lost. I'm like, come on, Miami. Y'all got to win. And they get beat up as well. The Eagles did a phenomenal job. Dolphins win this game. Dolphins lose this game, 17-31. And as I'm watching this game, I'm thinking, we've fallen in love with this offense of the Miami Dolphins, but it does need to be brought up. Who have they done it against? They've done it against teams like the Broncos and the Giants, but playing the Bills and the Eagles, not so much. Their season average in terms of total offense is 462 yards per game. Against the Bills, they had 393 yards of offense, and against the Eagles, only 244 yards of offense. Against the Bills, they only scored 20 points. Against the Eagles, obviously only 17 points. And that makes me think too, okay, well, who do they play the rest of the year? They play some teams with good defenses. They play the Chiefs, they play the Cowboys, they play the Ravens, they play the Bills again, and then they play the Jets twice throughout the rest of this season. And for a team like the Dolphins, we're not judging you based off what you do in the regular season. We're not judging you off of a 70-point game that you put up against the Denver Broncos. We're judging you based off what you do in the postseason. This team is talented enough to go contend for a Super Bowl. And if you're gonna fold every time you play stout defenses, top defenses in the league, then you're not worthy of that praise. So again, they took the L. So did the other 3 teams that I had in the top 5. So, I may have to scale it back on them a little bit. But again, like I said in my video last week, this stuff changes. Football is a week-to-week thing. It's not, nothing stays the same throughout all 17 weeks. So, again, in a few weeks, I'll give out a new list. And we'll see if these teams make it. We'll see what team rearrange in what order. We'll see what new teams are on the list. And again, I'll have you guys vote on that one again too, because I thought that was real cool, a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who did vote. And yeah, let's move on to the next thing. So I had you guys get at me and let me know your biggest reactions and takeaways from this past weekend of football. And let's get right into them, man. Starting with my brother Dyson, man. He said Brock Peasy is average and gets bailed out by having a good team. The last 2 weeks have proven that to be true. I guess you can argue maybe not so much with the Browns. They only lost because their kicker missed the game-winning field goal. But, yeah, he hasn't looked as successful as he has looked in previous weeks and since first taking over as the quarterback, as the 49ers quarterback. So I'm not going to jump and say he's average just yet. I mean, we do have to remember this dude was the last pick of his draft class, so I won't say he's average just yet, but I will say time will tell. I will say we will keep watching and see if he proves that statement to be right or wrong. Next one, my boy Ryan, he said the Dolphins can only beat bad teams. Again, another one that seems to be true in terms of what we've seen so far. I mean, when they play tough competition like the Bills and the Eagles, they lose. They folded but they can hang up 70 against the Broncos. They can make the Giants look silly. So again, we're judging teams like this off of what you do in the big games, and they got big games coming up against teams like the Chiefs and the Cowboys. So we'll see if it's more of the same or if Mike McDaniels and this team can figure something out to turn things around and kind of change the narrative of they only can beat bad teams. Next up, my boy Dane, he said Bears look more simple and better with Tyson Bagent. I think that's how the commentators were saying his name over the weekend. I hope that's how you say his name. Yeah, man, I never heard of this dude before this past weekend. But, you know, one thing I will say, when you go to a backup quarterback, especially one that may not have a lot of experience, you simplify things. And I think that's what a lot of offenses with these young quarterbacks need to do, because a lot of people want to follow the Mike McDaniels and the Kyle Shanahans, but sometimes simple is better. Simple is what works, especially if you got a young quarterback that needs time to kind of get used to everything and comprehend everything. So I think when Justin Fields does come back, they need to go ahead and try that simple approach. But at the same time, if this Bagent dude continues to look good, Justin Fields might have kind of a short leash and might be on the hot seat a little bit if he comes back and the Bears aren't winning games. Dane also said USC is not going to be a top team with their defense. I've said it before, it's a Lincoln Riley thing, man. He can't put out defenses that can complement his offense. You know, we saw since week 1, defense lets up a lot of points, a lot of yards, and what saves the day, what saves them is Caleb Williams, a Heisman Trophy winner. So when you play these teams with good defenses like Notre Dame and Utah, that can kind of stop Caleb from using his superpowers, if you will. The defense has to play big, and their defense hasn't played big all year. So that's why they won't be in position to contend for a national championship. And and it's another example of Lincoln Riley having a high power offense, high power quarterback, but nothing serious to show for it. Moving on, my girlfriend Tiffany actually said something. She said Taylor and Travis are the cutest. Okay. Okay. Listen, no one's a bigger Travis Kelce fan than me. I love Travis Kelce. I've played tight end all my life. I think he's one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game, if not the greatest. But there's two people that I'm tired of seeing when I open my phone, and Travis Kelce's not one of them. It's this woman and this woman. Okay, I don't know who this woman is. I understand who Taylor Swift is. I know who Taylor Swift is, but on behalf of all football fans out there, we don't care. We don't care about seeing that Taylor Swift is in attendance for the game. We don't care about this super fan that out of nowhere the NFL just wants to put the camera on her every 5 seconds. We don't care. So please stop putting her on my feed every 5 seconds. I don't care that Taylor Swift is wearing a bracelet with Travis Kelce's number on it. If it's her boyfriend, no, of course she's doing that. Like, I don't care.
We do not care.
Let's get back to football, man. Lastly, my boy Andres, he said USC has been figured out. Yeah, I mean, that might be an understatement. Because like I said earlier in the previous video, their defense is in shambles. It's like a they treat the game like a Oprah Winfrey show. They say you get a touchdown and you get a touchdown and you get a touchdown. They let everybody score. And on top of that, on offense, they have struggles too because their offensive line can't seem to protect against the good defenses. So, yeah, definitely USC's been figured out. And again, that's why, they may go to a bowl game, which Caleb Williams probably won't even play in. And, that'll be it for the Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams kind of era. I mean, of course, Lincoln Riley will still be there, but Caleb Williams will go on to the draft and again, he'll have nothing serious to show for it. In the team aspect, he'll have nothing serious to show. Of course, he has the Heisman Trophy, but in the team aspect, he won't have nothing serious to show for all the success he's had in his college days. Moving on to the last segment of the show. It's the last segment of every show. It's the halftime speech. Before I get into that, I do want to say thank you all for voting on the poll or leaving a comment for me to kind of react to. Again, this is all stuff for me to just practice with, man. My goal is to one day be doing this type of stuff on the big screen on TV, and you guys interacting with me, you guys showing me love, it's only helping me out and it's only making me better at what I plan to do in the future. So thank you. And let's get into this halftime speech, man. My halftime speech for you to get through the day, the week, the month, the year, life, man, to get through whatever it is you need to get through. Today, it's on my heart to tell you, don't be afraid to fail. I think so many times in this society, we look at things that we want to accomplish, but then we're like, man, I don't know. What if it doesn't go right? What if it, shit hits the fan and I'm just not good enough, or whatever the case may be. We can't be afraid to fail, because if you keep the big picture in mind, then you'll understand that failure, quote unquote, is just a speed bump. It's just a bump in the road, and once we get over it, it'll make us better. It'll benefit us in the long run. And I mean, prime example is this, man. I'm doing these YouTube videos. If I go tell someone, oh yeah, I make YouTube videos, as a hobby or, on the side in my free time, and then they go look at the amount of views I get, to society or to most people out there, that's laughable, and that's a failure, I guess you can say, if that's what I'm devoting my time to. But again, my end goal is to be, doing this type of stuff on TV and to be on the big screen. It's not to be some YouTube sensation. So I can't be afraid to post something because I don't think it's going to get a lot of views. Nah, I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep, pushing myself to be better in any way I possibly can. And I encourage you to do the same, whatever it is. Think of something that you've wanted to do, you've always wanted to do, but you just kind of got in your own way of doing it, and go out and attack it, man. Don't be afraid to fail. And I promise you'll be successful if you live with that mindset, man. And as always, I love y'all. Appreciate you for tuning in again. Like I said, this is going to be short and sweet. The semester ends in a couple weeks, and I hope once the semester ends, I can really dig deep into the content that I want to create and just put out better stuff for you guys, man. But as always, make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, please share with a friend. Again, all your guys' love and feedback, it's only making me better, and it's only helping me reach my goals. So continue to do that for me. I have nothing but love for you guys, man. And as always, stay tuned. I have another video for you real soon.